DJ Tillu is one of the best characters in Telugu cinema. I know this is a big claim. We've had some phenomenal characters over the years which have put us on the national and even international levels. You can probably think of Allu Arjun's Pushpa, Prabhas's Bahubali, Ramcharan's Chitti Babu, Vijay Deverakonda's Arjun Reddy even. Leaving Arjun Reddy, all these other characters had a huge star presence attached to them. That's a big reason why they're even memorable, I would say. Practically no one knew Sidhu Jonnalgadda before DJ Tillu, apart from a few who might have watched him from a very underrated film called Krishna and His Leela. Also, all these main characters have a great film and a world around them which make them memorable. But in the case of DJ Tillu, that's not the case. His character is what carries the film. So what makes DJ Tillu that special? Let's find out. DJ Tillu is one of the best marriages between an actor and a very peculiar character. Here we need to appreciate both Sidhu Jonnalgadda, the actor, as well as the writer. Beyond the catchphrases and funny one-liners, which are really funny, there is something about DJ Tillu that is so watchable. When we hear about a character as loud as Tillu, one who constantly refers to himself in third person, we just assume that he'll be very self-centered. But to the contrary, he's very, very sacrificial. It is this naivety and innocence that makes him very easy to root for. You may think this is a very standard, sarcastic guy who doesn't take things seriously, which we have seen countless examples of in pop culture. Characters like Chandler and many such knockoffs that come to mind. But unlike those characters, Tillu is very aware of the fact that he uses his sense of humor and sarcasm as a constant self-defense mechanism. Those characters are scared of being vulnerable, but Tillu shows off these vulnerabilities with pride. We see the vulnerabilities right from his name. His original name is Bala Gangadhar Tilak, named after a famous freedom fighter. But because it's an old, boring name, he turns his name into Tillu, which is more cool and hip. He belongs to areas like Varisigooda and Chilakgooda in Hyderabad, which are culturally closer to a smaller town, but are geographically stuck in a bigger city like Hyderabad. And Tillu sort of represents this dichotomy. I personally also grew up in a small town and came to a bigger city for my higher education, and I could relate to this confusion. There are three ways this can go. 1. You completely cut yourself from your upbringing and adapt to a city. 2. You show off your small townness and do not adapt to the city at all. 3 is a mix, and Tillu falls in this mix. He wears all these fancy, goofy looking branded clothes, but also comments about how women are wearing smaller dresses. I would also like to give credit to the writers that Tillu never becomes a woman bashy character, which he can easily become in the wrong hands. Whenever he makes these kinds of comments, it comes from a place of curiosity and ignorance rather than actual judgment. Let's talk about the other part of his identity, DJ. We find out that he's tried a lot of passions like boxing and even running an internet center, but has failed miserably at all of them. His current fad is DJing, which is traditionally looked at as a cool thing where you go and play music in a club. But Tillu doesn't really play in a club, he just plays in a local functions. He does not really seem to be all that interested in music, apart from this banger of a song. It's just another way to feel loved. Speaking of love, we see him fall in love with two women, Radhika and Lily. What's interesting about this is we know that Tillu is getting fucked over by this woman and we want to watch this happen. It is the classic, the car is crashing but I would still want to look at this kind of situation. Women screwing over Tillu is the basic template of both these films, and if we remove all the jokes and fourth wall breaks, this is a very tragic story for Tillu. In the first film, Tillu falls for Radhika, who is already in relationship with someone else, then traps Tillu in her own murder case, and by the end ditches him for money. In the sequel, Lily goes a step ahead by involving his entire family in this scheme as well, by making them believe that Lily is going to be this great person who will be the mother of his child and the wife and the daughter-in-law that they needed and all of that, just to use him as a pawn to kill a Don. And this mission itself, as it turns out, is not noble in any way. It's her own personal grudge mission, just so that she won't be outed as a corrupt police officer. Across these two films, Tillu gets cheated through love twice, gets himself involved in a life-threatening mission for said love twice, and when this mission goes south, is left to die twice. Even when all these things happen to Tillu, he never truly becomes cynical. Of course, in the second part, he's constantly breaking the fourth wall by talking about how he's getting trapped again by another girl. We even have an entire song dedicated to this. But he does end up falling for it because on a fundamental level, Tillu is someone who trusts and believes in people. When Lily comes and tells that she is pregnant with his son, he drops everything in his life and is ready to get married married and be a father. With Radhika, despite how selfish and manipulative she has been throughout the film, at the end he gives her a bail just on a benefit of a doubt. In the sequel, again he helps Radhika by putting his own life at risk by accepting Lily's mission. The second time around, it is even more tragic because Radhika is the same person who's betrayed him a year back and now is like, oh no, I need to be saved, please, I'm getting married now, please. And he still takes the bullet for her. When Tillu says,
టిల్లు అనేటోడు నార్మల్ హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్ అయితే కాదు, నేను ఒక కారణ జన్ముడిని. నా ఈ యొక్క జన్మకి కారణం ఏంటిదంటే ఈ ఊర్లో ఎన్ని పంచాయతీలు ఉన్నాయి, ఎన్ని లేడీస్ పంచాయతీలు ఉన్నాయి, ఈ ఉన్న లంగా లేకి లక్కో చీప్ చిల్లర్ డ్రైనేజ్ పంచాయతీలు అన్ని తెచ్చి నా నెత్తిన రగిలించుకోడు.
It is a funny joke, but it's also a man who's struggling with his own innocence and savior complex. Another aspect which is very evident with the sequel is how much of a pop culture icon Tillu has become. He's appealing to the broadest demography, right from kids who think he's this cartoon character to youth for obvious reasons and even family audience who watch it for comedy. I've heard stories of people who skip through the naughty scenes just to watch the comedy bits. And the box office numbers are proof for it. It made a ton of money for its budget. The whistles and cheering he was getting was similar to a mass hero. And these cheers are for the character and not the actor. This is very interesting because Tillu is anything but a mass hero. He never fights. He constantly gets emasculated by the women in his life. He's made fun of by everyone around him, including his friends and parents, and is ultimately just a loser. And Tillu puts up with all of this with a bright smile. In an industry run by male stars with fragile egos who will forever be under the age of 30, will never play a role of a father, romance heroines which are half their age never be made fun of in any of their films, yada yada yada. In such an industry, Tillu is a breath of fresh air. The future. The makers have already announced that there will be a Tillu Cube which will be a superhero film, and I love this. This is such a good choice because instead of just stretching the same story again, they're just taking this wacky character and putting him in a wacky superhero world. At least that's what I'm hoping for. His idea for the superhero origin story also seems within Tillu's brand.
How will DJ Tillu become a superhero? Probably he'll get superpowers by sleeping with the wrong chick, you know? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Tillu is the Deadpool we need. Think about it. He's the same fourth wall breaking, snarky, sarcastic hero, but with Sidhu's track record, will have an actual emotional core. This is something that's been missing in most typical superhero films, and this will be just a big plus for this film. Not every actor needs to aim for the big pan-Indian film, which are big in scale but much less rooted. Whatever happens with this franchise, one cannot deny the sheer cultural dominance of this character. From countless memes to just how his lines have become part of daily conversations.
అట్లుంటది మనతోని.
DJ Tillu will be forever etched in Telugu pop culture. And yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching this video. Like this video, share this video and subscribe to the channel. We will be making more such video essays moving forward. You can look forward to that. Bye bye.